Hello. What we're going to do is try to introduce the foundation for why Alaska Natives have a land claims and how that works legally. So one of the things to really understand about the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act is it falls within federal Indian law. It has to follow all the guidelines of federal Indian law in order to establish what is called an indigenous right to lands. The best way to do that is to just go through an illustration, an example of laying out a claim to property. Now, when property is let's see, let me rephrase that. With land as property, the receipt is called title. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at how do Native Americans or First Nations or indigenous people claim lands under under traditional use and occupancy. And the best way to do that is with an illustration. So let's imagine you have something pretty valuable, and we're going to use Katie's example as something valuable. You see, she has a ring. Now imagine that she was walking, you or I, we're walking down along the beach, and we're in a village that's on the coast of Alaska. And you see something shiny. And as you approach it, you look closer and you realize it's a ring.
Get it off.
Doesn't have to.
No.
But okay. And anyway, so we have this, you look at this and you say, wow, look at that ring. That's amazing. And you have to pretend there isn't a name or initials or anything else in it. So now you're in a village and you have this valuable thing that you found on the beach. If you're in a village, what do you do to try to make it right in returning this to the original owner? What are the possible ways of communicating with people in the village in order to establish who has a rightful claim to this ring that you discovered? So think of some illustrations, some examples of what you might do in a village, and then we'll come back to that. Now, having done all of that, you've exhausted all those opportunities to connect this to the original owner. Nothing worked. It's there. It's really nice. And after a while you say, no ownership established. I've had it for months and it fits. So you give it to someone, a friend of yours, and you put it on their finger and it fits. And you say, that's your gift. So now Katie goes to Anchorage for some traditional hunting and gathering at Costco and at the different stores, which is what we do when we're in Anchorage. And she's going through these stores and she has some extra time. So what she does is she goes into a jewelry store. And while she's in the jewelry store, what happens? As she's getting ready to leave, someone who describes himself as the manager of the store says, "Excuse me, I couldn't help but notice this wonderful ring that you have." It turns out those are custom-made rings, and we're the only people who sell them. So, Katie, what is going on with that?
Well, I don't know. It was a gift. Someone gave it to me.
So, do you have a proof of ownership?
No.
That's what the manager says. She says no. That is the problem that Alaska Natives and Native Americans and First Nations had when Pilgrims and Puritans and all these Europeans came to the United States, what became the United States. We knew from traditional use and occupancy and defending our territories which areas were ours, which ones were contested areas, and which ones were not ours. But Europeans wanted a piece of paper rather than your solemn word on it. Paper meant more than your own claim. They wanted a receipt. So the key problem was, what did we do wrong when we saw that ring on the beach? Let's think about that. What would be the thing that was a mistake? Well, the thing that was a mistake is when I picked up that ring, I didn't wait long enough to hear the ee, and having a receipt come out of the beach at the same time that I picked up the ring. That's the problem, legally, of the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act that we're going to be talking about further. Thank you.